Testing. 1, 2, 3. Hey lovelies, it's Ebony. Welcome back to my YouTube channel in widescreen. Finally, I just felt like widescreen was needed today because I wanted to, I don't know, this angle or perspective feels kind of like in and out. This one feels more like, come on in, sit down, stay for a while. Go ahead and get a snack, a coffee, a tea, sparkling water, some hot chocolate maybe, and settle in because this is going to be a lengthy video, and it's also a video that is pretty sensitive. I wish that I came across something like this when I was trying to decide if I wanted more children, what my options were. I mean, I knew what my options were, but I wanted to know what that looked like. So yeah, this video is for anyone trying to decide if you want more kids. As we all know, obviously what I do does not dictate what anyone else does, but this is a very common place to find yourself in, no matter who you are. But it's also a very personal decision. I find myself seeing a lot of other people online talking about, you know, how do you know you want another kid? How did you know to go from 1 to 2 or 2 to 3 or 3 to 3 to 4? Look, I can't even say. It's so crazy to me. And I hope that I can give you some perspective, another vantage point to look from, and make a decision that you feel settled in and at peace about, because everyone's like, oh, it's a miracle you're having a baby. When you're gonna have another one? Oh, family, kids, la, 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 la. Like, and while all that is great, it doesn't address the fact or the facts that having a baby, growing a family, because that baby's gonna turn into people, a person, there's a lot that goes into it. So that's what sparked this video for me, because I feel like I could have used something like this earlier in my family planning journey. And it's also very timely because in just 3 days on my birthday, I'm having my tubes removed. Clearly, I don't want to have any more children. Now, when I first spoke to my doctor, I asked her for a tubal ligation. For those who aren't familiar, that just means to go in and tie off your fallopian tube so that a egg cannot travel to, I don't know, y'all. It shuts down the pregnancy highways between your ovary and your uterus. When the ovaries release an egg, it can't reach the uterus. Right, where the sperm would be in order to get pregnant. So yeah, it cuts all that off. What they do now is they just remove the fallopian tubes altogether because it helps to reduce the risk of ovarian cancer by like 65%. And my doctor also mentioned that sometimes tubal ligations can fail. I guess, you know, it fails enough for them to be concerned about it. So I'm just happy that she put that out there, and that's the route we're gonna go. I haven't taken birth control. I used to take birth control religiously in my 20s, leading up to the point where Lex and I decided that we wanted to have kids. And I've done the patch, the ring, pill, and for all those years it was fine, you know, maybe a side effect here or there, but nothing that, you know, I was really concerned about. Whereas now I am taking the O pill, and the O pill is a progestin only birth control pill. That means there's no estrogen. That's why you're able to buy it over the counter. I've been on that since February, March, and while it's been okay, I would just prefer to not be on anything. Side effects I'm currently dealing with include like excessive tiredness, low energy, and I'm getting a period twice a month, which I don't have period cramps. My periods aren't super heavy. So I'm not really that bothered by that. It's mostly the excessive tiredness. Like I can't be this tired throughout the day. Like I need my energy levels to be up. And also I just don't want to have to remember to take a pill every single day. With the O pill, you got to take it every single day. There's no week off, nothing. You have to take the pill every single day at the same time, or you risk pregnancy. I just want to have a procedure done to where I don't have to worry about getting pregnant naturally on my own. So with that being said, item number 1 I want you to consider when deciding whether or not you want to have another baby: money and time investment. Now this may seem like a very easy, obviously, yeah, because babies take money and babies take time. Yes, that's very true, but I want you to think about outside of babyhood. I'm talking about childhood, middle school, teenagehood, like all of that. You know, babies of course take money, but what about when that child gets older? You send them to daycare, you send them to school. Are they going to go to private school? Are they going to have extracurriculars? Are they going to have, you know, sports and all of those things that require time and money? Since we have Lennox, I've thought about these things often because I grew up in a household where extracurriculars were just all over the place. So it required my parents to take us here, take us there. Not only was it time in the car, but it was also a lot of money. And private school, we went to private school and we went to college. Like there's so many things things coming down the pipeline for Lennox that, yes, it's scary. It's scary money and time. But because we only have one, I feel most comfortable in this scenario. On a much smaller scale though, think about, the time that you spend with your child as a kid, in these formative years where they're developing their personality and they want more than just to be bathed and fed. They want to play with you. They want to watch TV with you. They want to sit in your lap while you do your work. No matter how boring it is to them, they want to just be next to you. And I find myself having trouble with how would that look with a toddler and a newborn? Like, I still have to work. I still have to cook. I still have to wipe butts. I still have to make videos and turn things in. And it's just, I would just never get any sleep. And that's another thing. I feel like I'm not ever sleeping well. Just waking up in the middle of the night, going to check on her while she's sleeping and try to add a newborn on top of that, waking me up every couple hours. Like, it's just a lot. It's a lot. And I know I keep saying it is a lot, but it is. It is. And another thing about time too is if you're married or in a serious committed relationship with someone, how is that child going to change the dynamics of that relationship? Me and Lex, it ebbs and flows our days as far as super busy to chill, or they're mostly busy, but underneath it all, we are always here with each other. We always know what the other one needs without really having to ask. We have worked out a really great, I don't even want to say a routine, but just like a pass off with responsibility, knowing that the other one needs time, and you just automatically respect that. Because Lennox is at an age now where she's a little bit more independent, doesn't need quite as much attention as she needed when she was 6 months old, but she's also much more active. So we need time away from her sometimes just to get our minds together. So I say all that to say we have not lost each other in parenthood. I'm prayerful that that continues. Are you and your partner clear about what that would look like before it even gets to that point? Work all those things out. Think about how it looks now. That will change. Are you comfortable with that? Are you ready for that? Are you strong enough? Is your relationship strong enough to handle those changes? Next up is pregnancy. Pregnancy. If you are new to my channel, you may or may not know that I did have a loss before having Lennox. I was pregnant with another baby, and I lost that baby at 16 weeks. And that was horrible. Like, just point blank period. It was horrible. I still deal with the residual effects of that to this day. I still grieve that baby, and it definitely kind of put a cloud over my pregnancy with Lennox. I don't feel like I was truly able to enjoy that pregnancy to its fullest potential because I was always worried, is it going to happen again? Because I lost that pregnancy so far into the pregnancy that it was, I shouldn't have. I'm not in the first trimester anymore. I'm actually very much into the second. How does this even happen? I had a premature rupture of membranes. The doctors don't know why that happened. There was nothing anyone could have done to prevent it, apparently. So that also means in my mind that I can't stop it from happening again. And how do you live like that while being pregnant? I don't really have a desire to be pregnant ever again. Aside from that, the pregnancy itself was a little bit challenging too. Like, I have scoliosis, my spine is curved. So that meant after a certain point in the pregnancy, I could only sleep on my side. But that meant I could only sleep on one side because of the curve in my spine. And with that, there was a lot of neck pain, which caused a lot of headaches. And these weren't just like, oh, headache, it'll go away, whatever. No, these were like migraine type headaches where Tylenol was not getting rid of it. And I didn't want to take Tylenol over and over again. So a lot of times I just kind of would have to ride it out, and I was miserable. Oh, and I can't forget about the gestational diabetes. Oh gosh, I came across those papers the other day of like me putting in my glucose numbers. I had to do it every day, 3 times a day. From December to February, I couldn't have really any sweets. The crazy thing is, when you think about sweets, you think about soda, juices, candies, baked goods, not a baked potato. Do you know French fries, potato chips, baked potatoes, mashed potatoes, all that stuff is out, okay? Because your body reads that starch as sugar, and it just, it about killed me. Just all that planning and all that. I was hungry all the time. I I was so hungry. IVF process. The IVF process alone gave me pause about having another child. All the shots, all the visits to the doctor, all the money, time, everything. It was just, it's a lot. And a lot is an understatement. Having Lennox already, that would be a huge undertaking because I'm her main caretaker throughout the day. I would literally be traipsing back and forth to the doctors with her. When we were trying for Lennox, Lex was at home working from home all the time. So he was there every step of the way to give me every single shot. When I was considering having another child, that was a big one at the top of my list. What would that look like? Me getting in a car, going to a doctor's office every single week, maybe more, maybe twice a week, you know, because in the beginning you go often, there's a lot of blood draws. There are a lot of sonograms. When I was pregnant with Lennox, that first 16 weeks, I had to not only take shots still to make sure that my uterus kept the lining intact, I had to go to the doctors every single week to get a sonogram every single week. That right there gave me pause. It was like, that's gonna be 50% of the commitment right away. But yeah, that right there just was like, skirt. What's the vision for your family? Now, before I was ever married, I thought that I would have at least 2 to 3 children easily. One child was never really like, yeah, I'd be happy with one. I always wanted 2. I wanted multiple genders. I wanted my children to have a sibling, all of that. But fertility, detours, all of that took my life in different turns and onto different paths. So that vision has changed. And I think that it's important to allow your vision to change, especially if it's 10 years removed from when you had those visions, you know, like, or had that plan. When I was in my 20s, I had no idea what it would take to be a mother, what it would take to be a working mother, what it would take to just get pregnant. And so now, having lived through all of that, I'm much more specific and particular about, okay, what do I want my life to look like? Now that I know all that I know, what's actually gonna work for me? Because you can have a lot of, but what does it really look like day to day when you're waking up every day, when you're going to bed every day, preparing for the next day, all of that. And I think that that's very important to really be honest with yourself about, because while you may want, I need a boy, I need a girl, actually be honest with yourself. Those things are playing too big of a part in deciding whether or not you want children. What is the lead in? Is it, I need to have a boy, or I need to have a girl, or is it, no, I want more kids? And I'm hoping, it's funny because in my 20s, that's basically what it was. Like, I want a boy and I want a girl, you know, like, so it was so silly thinking about, like, it's not silly to want those things, but in my mind, having lived all these years now, thinking like it was just gonna be that simple. But, and for some people it is, it just wasn't that for me. And also age, you know, I always joke about being an old mom on Instagram because, you know, the doctors are like, you're a geriatric pregnancy, yada, yada, yada. But at the end of the day, my age plays a part, more of a part for me in day-to-day life versus the pregnancy, because the pregnancy is only 9-10 months of the child's whole life. So if I'm going to be 40 next year, do I really want to have a newborn and a preschooler? Am I going to be able to physically be okay with that? You know, I'm much more tired now. My energy levels are a little lower. My body's changing. It's just, you know, a lot of things in there that I'm not going to mention right now, but am I going to be okay with those changes or that stage of my life, and also having itty bitty babies still, you know? So that I had to be honest with myself about that. Now, if age doesn't matter to you and it doesn't, you know, register on your list of reasons at all, then by all means, if you're healthy and can do it and your doctors are fine with it, please. Like I said, day to day, every morning waking up, every night going to bed, what does this look like? And last but not least, this is what I call the sibling satisfaction rule. I know for me, when I was trying to decide, do I want more kids? Should we have more kids? The thing that kept ringing in my mind was, well, Lennox should have a sibling. She should have a brother or sister. And people were like, yeah, look at her. She, you know, she's already such a good helper and all of that. But I realized that every time I would think about having another baby, that was the lead-in. That was my reasoning. Well, Lennox would be good, you know, it would be good for her to have a sibling. But the more I thought about it, the more I felt like, well, that's not really a good reason. If I'm being honest, that's not really a good reason to have another baby, because that baby should have its own thoughts of desires from its parents versus just, oh, well, Lennox would be happy to have a sibling, because that baby's going to be its own person. Just felt very like an empty thing to, well, you know, she would have a sibling and that would be good for her. Like, but no, what about that baby by themselves? And I go back to, like I said before, about the whole gender thing. If you want more children and that's the lead-in thought, and on top of that, it would be great for that child to have a sibling, then sure. But just kind of starting with that didn't feel right. And so I discussed that with Alex, and finally he just was, you know, like, you know what? Stop thinking about what everybody else wants. He told me he was good with whatever I wanted to do, and just think about what I wanted, not what Lennox wanted, not what he wanted. What do you want? Thinking back to moment where me and Lex were trying to get pregnant and it wasn't happening, how disappointed I was, feeling that pull, that urge, that desire to have a child is exactly like how I feel now, except it's flipped. Like thinking that I was pregnant, you know, in these last couple years, a couple times, and I was just scared to death. Like, and even then I didn't know at the moment that it was, I'm not ready. I don't want to have any more children. The thought was, this is very soon. Like, I wanted a little more time. I have to have a little more time to prepare. Those strong feelings and the relief that came realizing that I wasn't pregnant, like they were nowhere near any sort of like disappointment that I wasn't having a baby. So it's just, you know, things like that. Whatever feels most in alignment with what you want, you have to really like be in your body. You have to really pay attention to how you're reacting physically. Your stomach turning? Are your eyebrows furrowing when thinking about having another child? Or do you feel relief and peace at the thought of having more children? Does it excite you? Is it something that you just can't wait to experience? Is it something that is really in alignment with your life? You know, so if it feels that way, amazing. But if it doesn't, I would definitely just continue to pause and wait and see, because that can help you determine, you know, a few more months from now. Because it took me months to realize, like, I think I'm good. You know, so yeah, kind of rambling at this point. So I hope this video has helped somebody make a decision that has been plaguing them, that has been kind of hanging over their head, and gives you a little bit of freedom and frees you the way Lex freed me with that whole, what do you want? Not Lennox, not an imaginary baby that isn't even here. Like, what do you want? And in the meantime, if you enjoyed this video, give it a big thumbs up, share this video, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so. And as always, thanks for watching.